Hi, everybody. I'm George Smith. I am the director of MSU AgBioResearch, and I'm pleased to be here today with my good friend Greg Bird, executive director of the Michigan Vegetable Council. We're going to have a great conversation about a key component of the specialty crop industries in the state and Greg's role and the tremendous partnership that MSU AgBioResearch has with our vegetable growers in the state. So, Greg, welcome. We look forward to the conversation.
Sure. Thanks, George. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So diving in, maybe to start, Greg, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your industry, some of the things you're known for to kind of set the context for where you're at and our partnership, and as we get into some of the more specifics later on.
Sure. Michigan Vegetable Council has been around for a long time, I think 60 plus years. We support research and education for the vegetable industry and the vegetable growers within the state of Michigan. And just about everything we do seems like it's fairly tied to Michigan State University and research and extension there. Our organization survives by putting on the Great Lakes Fruit, Vegetable, and Farm Market Expo every December, where all the vegetable and fruit growers from the Great Lakes region go to get education and talk with companies and researchers so that they can plan and be successful for the future.
And I know we want to talk about the Great Lakes Fruit and Vegetable Expo a little bit later in the conversation. So maybe start out and give us your perspective on the role of MSU research in supporting goals and/or the decision-making processes within your industry.
Yeah. So, George, I mean, the Michigan vegetable industry, we know the research staff at Michigan State University, and we know their skills and abilities. I mean, we haven't been, this isn't new to us and not new to you. So we know what's going on at Michigan State with your research staff. And in fact, over time, your MSU team has kind of been tailored to fit all the ag industry needs, whether it's the vegetable industry or fruit industry or other industries. We've kind of tailored it here in the state so it meets our needs. So when we're doing planning, we know what is available at Michigan State University, or at least what's important to us. So we know which researchers to go to for different things. And we know what your capabilities are and what grant programs you have. So for that sake, we're not starting fresh every time we do something new. Every time we do planning, we don't have to go through new planning. We just are looking at our priorities and trying to, we know what MSU can handle.
Yeah, Greg, that's a great point, and it kind of illustrates another aspect of the relationship that's really important. Our interaction with you is not just at a project level. We work together in a communication long term about what the needs are and how to try to make sure we have the expertise in place to meet those needs. If AgBioResearch was making those decisions in a vacuum, we would fail. We would not be successful in doing research that really makes a difference for the vegetable industries in the state of Michigan. So that communication is really important, talking about long-term goals, what the priorities are, both from a hiring, staffing process, and then as we get into the details of, okay, what are the questions that are important to your industry that we can ask? So great point. I'm glad you made that. All right. So talk a little bit about specific outcomes or benefits you expect from MSU research. We don't do research just to do research. I'm glad you mentioned the importance of MSU extension, because that's the mechanism that helps carry that research-based information out to growers, out to farmers, so it can be applied in a fashion that benefits your bottom line. So what do you expect from us, and what are the true benefits?
I mean, in the most simple way to explain this, we expect the results of your research to be shared with the industry, okay? And especially at the Great Lakes Fruit, Vegetable, and Farm Market Expo every December, because that's where we try and get everybody to attend that and show all the latest research there. I mean, with extension and research, you can have stuff out on the internet or emails or newsletters and other things like that. And we wanted a lot of places, and I can bring people into my board meetings and have them talk. But that expo is the place where we get the most communication about the research out. And so that's where I have to have the research put out there. No question. And you know, MSU is just expected by us to participate as part of the industry there at the event. There's no question. And without MSU, we couldn't even do it. I mean, you're such a big percentage of the event and the education there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic event. One of the highlights for me every fall, winter, December, typically when it is just, really impressive to see the number of growers there and the amount of MSU research that's presented. And I think another important point that you kind of touched on it that really also illustrates the role of MSU AgBioResearch in the research we do is it's objective and it's non-biased. So that information is important to our growers, to our farmers, whether it's a positive result or not, it's equally important. And we're
Sure.
not trying to sell a product. We are trying to provide factual science-based information to allow farmers, growers to make their own decisions on how to incorporate or not incorporate into their operations.
Sure. And I mean, and I didn't mention this when I was answering that question is I mean, we hope that the research gives us information about that we can put towards the quality and quantity of the products we produce. I mean, but that's not every single research project is based on providing something of quantity or quality. So but that is important in the end. The bottom line is important, but it's getting that information out there and letting people use it to see how they see fit. And some things are specific. I mean, a quantity. If there's a pest that's destroying a certain crop, then hopefully that research provides us with improved quantity.
Yes. Yeah. I really can't say enough about how special Michigan agriculture is and the partnerships between the agriculture industries working together in Michigan State University. It really is a special place for me to work. I feel I have the best job on campus, and it's because of those partnerships and the commitment of our scientists to doing work that really makes a difference. We're also very fortunate in Michigan to have some special programs that wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for the efforts of our agricultural community and commodity groups like the Michigan Vegetable Council going to the legislature to advocate for additional support beyond our base budget to facilitate research that the industry needs. So can you talk, and we've got two of those that are really relevant to the Michigan Vegetable Council and plant-based agriculture, Project Green and the Agricultural Resiliency Programs. Can you talk a little bit about the role of Project Green and its importance to your industry?
Sure. Thanks, George. So Project Green it's a great program that the vegetable industry and the rest of the agriculture industries helped create with MSU 25 or so years ago. One thing about that program is that it actually helps coordinate all the industry priorities for the state of Michigan. And it helps me keep my priorities straight so that we have a repository to put priorities for all the different commodities within the state based on that program, Project Green. You want everybody's priorities, so we put them somewhere so everybody knows what's important to us. So that's one thing that's come out of it. It is the number one place for agricultural priorities, at least plant-based agricultural priorities in the state of Michigan. And what's important to us is based on that program. And then you turn around and people look there to, have proposals for that program based on those priorities, so they know what's important. So that's just like a bonus for me. I mean, you're helping me do my job. There. We always start with Project Green for our research needs. Why? It's not the biggest program in the whole United States for ag research, but we know what it can do. We know what money's there, and we expect quick turnarounds. And that's not pressure on you, but we do. Sometimes if you're at a bigger level with a bigger dollar amount at the federal level, it could take years, decade, and just applying for something can take multiple years. And we want something tangible that can be done fairly quickly. So some of these things get turned around in a year, 2 years, and it's done and the research is complete. And maybe it's just the start of future research, but still, that's what we expect out of Project Green.
Super. Yeah, one of the keys of success of Project Green has been the fact that it is focused on addressing immediate priorities of our agriculture industries, and each commodity group that participates in Project Green has the opportunity to list those priorities and update them annually. And really a source of pride, not only for AgBioResearch and Extension, but for our Project Green partners in the agriculture industries as a whole, is the economic benefit of Project Green that's been documented. The first 20 years of the program, the economic benefit to the state of Michigan was over $2.5 billion. And that's with a total investment in Project Green of a little over $5 million a year. I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty good return on investment for
Sure, yeah.
taxpayers'
I'd
money.
invest I'd invest my money there if I invested $100 and got 2,200 in it.
Yeah, we'd all love to get that kind of return from the stock market. So that's a real testament to our commodity group partners for making it happen, the role they play in setting priorities, and the commitment of our faculty to doing research that really makes a difference. We have a newer program that hasn't been as long as Project Green, but has a similar history in terms of how it started through communications with amongst the coalition, the plant-based commodity groups, about longer-term challenges. And that resulted in the creation of the Agriculture Resiliency Program. Talk a little bit about that and where you see that program having an impact on the vegetable industries in the state in the long term and why it's important.
Sure. The ag resiliency, outside of our workforce, employees and labor and struggles in that realm, probably our number one issue, broad issue, is water-based type issues. And so the ag resiliency program, it was created as one of the main focal points of that program, was to help with water type agricultural issues and do research on water. And so that's just been one of our top priorities. That's not specific, but you have to drill down to know what you mean with water type problems, whether it's from rainfall or something like that, or getting water, having enough water, or quality water. But that's important with ag resiliency. The aspect of making sure our vegetable industry is economically resilient is important, and in bringing in the College of Ag's economic department, that's important into that into the resiliency program. So those things are something that we felt Green, there just wasn't enough dollars in Green to do everything, and through funding, this new program will help do additional work for us. That's what we see.
Great. Yeah, really excited about this program as well, and the tremendous support we got from the Michigan Vegetable Council, other partners in the plant-based commodity industries, and general farm organizations in making this happen. This was your initiative, your request. You all went to the legislature to advocate for it, and we've had funding 2 years in a row to support the program, which we feel, and I know our partners feel, in the longer term will really be transformational. Helped us deepen the bench and hire some additional faculty in areas where we were lacking expertise, to put multidisciplinary teams together to address these more complex problems related to water, related to soil health, related to the impact of extreme weather on resilience of agriculture, and also a new competitive grants program to bring those teams of faculty together to develop solutions to those problems, and providing enough money for 3-year projects where our ag economists can work with our soil scientists, can work with our faculty who are involved in engineering and modeling efficient use of water, water quality issues, developing new technologies to increase efficiency of irrigation and things like that. So it's a tremendously exciting program. I think it's really going to be transformational. We appreciate the support that led to funding for the program in its first 2 years, and we're hopeful that as the budgets for FY26 are resolved, that there will be an opportunity for this program to continue.
Sure. George, one thing that's come of that is typically at Vegetable Council board meetings or research committee meetings where we would talk with MSU research staff, it was the same folks for quite a long time. And now that room is getting kind of crowded because we're working on more problems than we used to work on. And so now even some of your staff we're introducing to ourselves and amongst your staff. And so the room gets pretty crowded for a lunch. And so I really have to put together an agenda that is, it's tough to do because my board members don't have time to have 6 different meetings. So bringing everybody together at one is, we're still in the infancy of that, and it's fun. And I think it's a lot of good communication and talk happens there. But until everybody gets there and feels comfortable with everybody, the first year or two is like, wow, there's a lot of people here and there's a lot of information to get out. So we're in that stage right now, which is exciting, but it takes a lot of work.
It is exciting. Yeah, for sure. So Greg, in this area where funding for research is getting additional attention, and I would say in many ways rightfully so, there's more and more emphasis on return on investment. And we're committed at AgBioResearch to helping our faculty do research that really will make a difference. So in order to communicate return on investment, we're really encouraging communication about specific examples of projects, efforts that have made a difference. Hence the genesis behind this whole new communication campaign and the podcast with you and the accompanying stories that will be published. So you have some examples or specific examples where a project or strategy led by MSU Research has helped your industry overcome a looming challenge or problem and really made a difference.
Yeah, sure. I got a couple examples. At the federal level, the EPA, some restrictions on a pesticide that was used to help the vegetable industry left very few options after the restrictions were put in place. And in fact, they were put in place pretty quickly. So the vegetable industry was able to go to Project Green and get some emergency funding. It wasn't a huge dollar amount, but there was nobody else where we could get that funding immediately during that growing season to try something out. And so we purchased a row cover implement, and we did some in-season testing with it. And it told us what we could and couldn't do. I mean, it wasn't supposed to save the whole industry, but one crop was basically going to not be able to be grown here without that pesticide. And so testing out that row cover implement at least told us, would that work for the future? And it was valuable. It wasn't a huge dollar amount, but we got the return on that investment there. Another one, downy mildew affects vine crops yearly, and this isn't new. But Project Green, there's been multiple Project Green projects over the years dealing with downy mildew and different aspects of it. And what we have now is we have a monitoring system. It's ongoing and it's continually updated to better serve the grower. So Not every year do we have a downy mildew project, but we have this monitoring system that's used every year through MSU research, and a lot of it is Project Green, so that we know how better to deal with downy mildew. And my guess is in the next 5 years, there'll be another downy mildew project to improve that monitoring system. Um, and then another one is EnviroWeather. The EnviroWeather system is used daily to monitor the climate. And this is continually updated. Like there's been multiple Project Green projects that have dealt with EnviroWeather to keep up with the technology EnviroWeather, because we have to know what the weather's going to be down the road and how best to address the crops we've got growing. So those are three examples of MSU research that just have had positive impacts. And in fact, one of them, the first one's done. I mean, that's over. It was a one-time small expenditure, but the other two are the lifeblood of the industry, and they're continuing, even though we spent that money, and they keep working for us.
Yeah, very, very insightful, and really illustrate the importance of the partnership and how Project Green can really make a difference. In two examples, longer term programs or solutions. In one, and I'm glad you mentioned this, the mechanism within Project Green to respond rapidly to emerging challenges. The way the Project Green program is set up, there's money that goes for applied research projects and extension projects based on the priorities our commodity group partners set. There's another smaller grant program that's meant to help leverage larger grants. And then there's funding that's available for what we call rapid response. And in this case, you nailed it. It was a regulatory change that happened on short notice. And how do we put some funding in place to help our growers in your industry deal with that challenge? You know, things happen rapidly in agriculture, whether it's the situation you described or it's a newly emerging pest or pathogen. We have to be able to respond quickly. And without funding for Project Green and the rapid response component of the program, it would be very, very difficult for us to do that. So I really appreciate you sharing that example. So the next thing we want to talk about is the importance of continued funding for agricultural research and the investment that's made in AgBioResearch. What would you say to legislators to advocate on behalf of continued funding, whether it be folks downtown in the Michigan State Legislature or folks in DC?
Well, here's my first comment is the Michigan State University was the first university to teach scientific agriculture in the United States of America. It was the initial premier land grant university. All right. And so agriculture is Michigan's #2 industry. I mean, so I'm building a case for this as the importance of it. It's we have everything in place to work with MSU and the research done at MSU, and the rest of the world even looks to MSU as a leader in agriculture. Okay, so that's my case here. We're not doing it because we hope to have something. It's already an important thing, and it has been the leading important thing for so long that it's absolutely essential to continue to get funding to Michigan State University for agricultural research. We have the talent and the commitment at MSU. That's important. We don't want to lose that. I mean, so I just tell people based on that, ag funds have to stay with MSU. There's no question. And if they didn't, we would suffer by losing our quality and quantity I talked about earlier. The research wouldn't get done, and we would be not as a good place to grow the fruits and vegetables that we currently grow.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So, Greg, it's been a great conversation. As we kind of wrap up here, do you have any closing comments?
I mean, our industry works with the staff there at Michigan State University. They know how to work with the staff. And when I talk with the vegetable growers in the state, they continue to rank our our partnership with MSU as a top priority. I mean, everybody always has lots of top priorities, but it's always there. I mean, so I ask people, is research still important? And the answer is yes. I mean, some people, it's the number one priority in what they get out of the industry is research so they can continue to be profitable. Yeah, so it's either always number one or it's always up there. And so, yeah, that's the reason I'm doing this call. And that's, my role as executive director doesn't go a day without something about Michigan State University affecting the vegetable industry.